this is Marlene and a warm welcome from Glasgow, Scotland to all around the world. In this series of Marlene and Friends, I'll be sharing with you the most amazing group of people who have all the skills and expertise to make our world one of health and peace for all who live here, humans and non-humans alike. This week's hugely inspiring friend, Dr. James Loomis, will share with you all how he came to embrace a whole food plant-based diet and the effects it had on his personal health and his approach to the prevention and treatment of chronic disease in his practice. As Dr. Loomis incorporated plant-based eating as the cornerstone of his therapeutic arsenal, many of his patients have experienced the same near-miraculous results. As medical director of the fantastic newly opened Barnard Medical Center, Dr. Loomis has shared this message regarding the power of whole plant-based eating with his patients. Those who have embraced it have had the same astounding results that he had, oftentimes being able to stop their medications they were taking for diabetes, cholesterol or high blood pressure. Please also don't miss, coming up soon, Dr. Neil Barnard's inspiring interview with me. We're going to be discussing Remembering Rodney Society that Dr. Barnard founded. Members generously support the Physicians Committee every month, and these gifts are the fuel behind all the life-saving work to stop animal cruelty in testing and training labs and promote responsible medicine and healthy living. I'm so proud to be a member and would encourage you all to listen in to Dr. Barnard's interview and how you can join this incredible group of donors. Hi, I'm Marlene Watson-Tara in Service for a Healthy World. My guest today is directing a new approach to medical practice, and it's just the perfect role for the fantastic Dr. James Loomis for many reasons. But the most important being, plant-based eating transformed the way he thought about health both personally and professionally, and we're going to chat about that just in a second. The Barnard Medical Center in Washington DC integrates nutrition and medicine into every visit for every patient. I mean, talk about music to your ears, Jim. A big, huge, warm welcome, Dr. Loomis.
Thank you, thank you. This is great.
You know, I know you're hugely excited about being part of the team, and you've got a fantastic team there at Barnard Medical Center with you. You've got such a huge opportunity to change the paradigm of how we're preventing, treating and reversing chronic diseases using lifestyle, especially plant-based nutrition as medicine. Your own miraculous life-changing experience that brought yourself to this work with renewed health and vitality, I want you to share with the world what happened to you. It's just so inspiring.
Thank you. Yeah, so 5 years ago or so, I practiced what I preached in my medical practice. I had not been taught much about nutrition in medical school. What I had learned was kind of self-taught. I talked about the food pyramid and the standard American diet, with, you know, processed with you know, red meat in moderation, low-fat dairy, lean meat, try to get whole grains, and that's what I followed personally. And I found that if I exercised, I could get away with it. Mm-hmm. And slowly but surely, as I got busier and busier in my practice, and a knee injury, and I had to have surgery, and as doctors are the worst patients ever, so I didn't and next thing I know, I had moderated myself into being a patient. I had, you know, I gained weight, and my cholesterol went up, and I developed sleep apnea, and sleep apnea was triggering, you know, an irregular heartbeat. And over the course of a few years, you know, I started to acquire doctors. I had a cardiologist, and I had a sleep doctor, and my internist, and not once, in retrospect, did any of them ever talk to me about my diet. And kind of the last straw was I went to see my primary care doctor. My cholesterol was up, and he wrote me out a prescription for cholesterol medicine. And I hadn't had it till I was laying on the couch one night, flipping through Netflix, and came across the documentary, Forks Over Knives. And I thought I watched it, and I thought, it cannot be this easy. It just can't be this simple. So I was on the faculty of Washington University in St. Louis, where I was at the time, and I came back and looked at some of the primary research, and I thought to myself, it would be unconscionable for me not to try a plant-based diet for 3 months before I started taking these pills. And, you know, I kind of knew what a vegan was, and I really wasn't interested in that. But plant-based nutrition, which is, you know, is fundamentally, vegans. Plant-based nutrition is vegan, but there's a lot. But veganism, for just not eating animal products, you can be pretty unhealthy and still be with the processed food model. But anyway, so and the other commitment I made was to get my knee back in shape. And within 3 months, without really doing any other than knee strengthening, so really no change in my exercise, I lost 30 pounds. My cholesterol dropped, in half. My sleep apnea went away. It was like a miracle. So, and then, that was from July 2011 till the first of the year. I started to exercise. You fast forward now 3 or 4 years, I ended up losing 60 pounds.
Wow.
I competed in marathons and triathlons and did a half Ironman triathlon. And I'm in my mid-50s now. And that's crazy. It's crazy on a lot of levels, obviously. I mean, people are already running marathons crazy to start with, but it's crazy that 5 years ago I couldn't walk around the block without being out of breath. And here I am now. And through all of that, I realized that what I had been practicing for 20 years, 25 years, was not healthcare. I perceived it was sickness. And it was based on treatment. It was based on waiting for people to get disease. Mm-hmm. And sure, we could add years to people's lives when we practiced that way, but we took away life from their years. We gave them drugs that were expensive and had side effects. And we wait for you to get cancer before we give you chemo. We wait for you to get Alzheimer's and we put you in a nursing home, right? Yeah. And so the only way you can add years to people's lives and life to their years is through their lifestyle. And diet probably driving 75 to 80% of that, and plant-based nutrition in particular. And so it really made me fundamentally rethink about what I was doing with professionally and how I treated my patients. And as I started to kind of be an evangelist for all of this,
sure.
I had met Dr. Barnard, and this last summer I got wind he was looking for a medical director, and on a whim really I made an application. And here I am now. I moved here a few months ago to be the medical director, and it's been a really amazing journey through the last years. Not only from a personal health standpoint, but from a professional standpoint, and also the exciting work that Neil's been doing here through the years. It's just incredible.
Well, that's fantastic. I mean, what an inspirational story. Of course, people change their lives all the time, but when it comes from a medical doctor like yourself, who's been, as you've said, writing prescriptions for decades and treating sickness, it's fantastic, Jim. I take my hat off to you and I admire your honesty, and I just loved your story. Here is the same. We say we have the NHS, which is, like a national treasure, the National Health Service, but it's actually the National Sickness Service, because they do nothing about health. And I write to the government and say you should rename it the National Sickness Service. There's nothing about health there. So, I hope and pray that across the big pond come many of you guys, because we don't have anybody here apart from John Kelly in Ireland. As the medical director of the new Barnard Medical Center in Washington, D.C., can you explain to the world what differentiates the center from other medical practices?
So we do provide primary health care, just like, we write prescriptions like everybody else.
Sure.
But our goal is to let people know there is another path if they choose to go down it. And if they would like to go down it, we will hold their hand and take it, right? So everybody who comes in gets access to a free 12-week plant-based nutrition education class that includes classes on health benefits, reading food labels, cooking, grocery store tour, and it's absolutely free. And they have the opportunity to continue on in a kind of a support group setting once a month. And it's been pretty amazing that the success we've already had. We've only been open since January, and we're just finishing up our first class. And the cumulative weight loss, the drugs that people aren't taking anymore, it's just astounding. And people just need to understand that there is another path, and making that the focus, people understand that there is a way, that all of 80% of almost every chronic disease, whether it be breast cancer, prostate cancer, colon cancer, Alzheimer's disease, heart disease, cholesterol, type 2 diabetes, is driven by lifestyle. That when you flip things upside down, right, you start to address those things. Not only does your cholesterol go down, you lose weight, you have more energy, you feel better, your aches and pains go away, on and on. So it's the difference is that we are showing people the way, I hope.
Yeah. I mean, the whole community thing that you just said there, what an incredible way to encourage people. You know, you're almost building communities, people coming there and being supported. Because I know when some people come to us for health counselling and, you know, the spouse isn't eating this way or the family aren't eating that way, it can be very difficult for them. And I don't have the staff or the support group to, you know, take people by the hand like the way you guys do. But that is just fantastic. What a beautiful community project.
Right. And I have to say that I go to most of the classes, and the thing that struck me was exactly that. These are people, so that we see kind of three different classes of patients. So we see patients who have been plant-based or vegan for a long time and just need to be validated. They go to their doctor and their doctor thinks they're crazy. And so, but they're healthy in general. We see patients who have seen, like myself, who saw Forks Over Knives or read the China study or, you know, have become interested in plant-based nutrition. They go to their primary care doctor and they're completely dismissed. So they're looking for validation. They're looking for someone to help them make this transition. And then we have patients who have never heard of this, and it's the first time they've ever heard of it. And especially for that second group, you know, people who are looking, they realize that taking all these pills is not the way to go, and they're trying to find someone, the resources. That is, you know, that community, you know, because all of a sudden now you're in a room full of not only healthcare professionals, but other patients and people who have shared those exact same frustrations. And these people felt like they've lost in the dead, they're on a desert island, right? Yeah. And you know, how am I going to conquer this? I know what to do, I don't know how to do it. And so it's been incredibly rewarding to hear the stories, people's stories. To hear them share with each other their successes and failures and kind of build this spirit of community. And that's why we've decided to continue on like a support group situation, so that these people can continue to have this sense of community, which is incredibly important. The social networks we create profoundly influence our health and our behaviors and our habits, and being able to create that is incredibly important for long-term success.
Yeah, it's absolutely fantastic. I'm absolutely just over the moon, and I wish it would just happen here. So I have to just keep believing that it will eventually happen over here. I'm coming to kidnap you, Jim Loomis, and bringing you to Scotland. Because not only do you have these community groups, you actually teach cooking at them, which I love, and you create recipes as well. So, I mean, you know, what a superstar you are. You're being awarded an award at the end of this series, you know. The thing I wanted to touch on also was the research on a plant-based diet is so vast and convincing now. You know, as the medical profession, do you feel at large wakening up to this fact?
Well, I think, you know, we have, in many ways, we've institutionalized this paradigm of treatment, this paradigm of sick care. Part of it has to do, although I think people are starting to come around, it's very difficult because nutrition is not taught in medical school. The nutrition is taught is very reductionist. It's about, you know, carbohydrates and vitamins. It's not about food. So physicians don't have the attitude that food is even important. It's just that connection hasn't been made. We've institutionalized the way we do research. Right? A lot of the research is funded by the drug companies. So who's going to take through the study where we take, you know, 10,000 patients with type 2 diabetes and put half of them on keto and half of them on, you know, some expensive diabetes drug? Well, certainly not the diabetes drug people, right? So although that is starting to change, there is organizations like PCRM have published clinical NIH-funded trials around type 2 diabetes, and more you are starting to see the literature emerge. But you know, physicians are so entrenched in this kind of treatment paradigm, it's very difficult. Now, one of the things we're going to plan to do here at Barnard is we actually are going to have rotations for both medical students and medical residents to come through and learn about plant-based nutrition. Dr. Barnard and I have gone to Johns Hopkins and spoken on plant-based nutrition to medical students there. He's actually at Washington University today speaking about plant-based nutrition. We sponsor a plant-based nutrition healthcare conference, which is coming up in July. Again, to spread the word to other clinicians. So I think we are starting to see people understand this fundamental connection between our lifestyle and our health. Although it's very difficult. I can tell you all kinds of crazy stories about my colleagues back in St. Louis who thought I was crazy. Personally, professionally, prescribing food.
Yeah.
I wouldn't like you wouldn't join on that.
Yeah.
Really, but I'm encouraged that the International Plant-Based Nutrition Conference, which is run by the Plant Nutrition Project, has seen this will be the 4th year. That each year, the
grows. Yeah.
The attendance is rising. So it is encouraging. I think we are starting to see some movement.
That's fantastic, because you know we're all the same, Jim, right? All of us, we have the same mission, which is to inspire and empower people to actively participate in taking control of their own health, and we all know it's what lies at the end of your fork. So, but for the medical profession to come on board, I know that's going to help it pick up legs and really move forward. You know, when I partner with clients of mine and I guide them in the process towards, you know, renewed health and things, we, just as you said, the whole community thing, I keep coming back to that, because it's a huge part of it, not just physically but emotionally, to know that you've got that support. So do you think in the future, are there any plans on the horizon to expand Barnard Medical Center to other states?
We've had a lot of interest.
Yeah.
Yes, so yes, I think down the road, and I think there's 2 models potentially. One would be to open up a satellite center or a center in a different geographic location. The other would be to export the programming, so that once we get, we're actually, the beauty of the way these classes are structured, because they start every 4 weeks. We start a new 12-week class.
Right.
We're actually planning on doing some clinical research around out of these classes. You know, we know what causes type 2 diabetes.
Sure.
We know that plant-based nutrition fixes type 2 diabetes. So, but what we need to understand is how we can help people implement behavior change that's required to transition to a plant-based diet. So we're in the process right now of designing a study to look at the psychosocial drivers of success and failure at the end of these classes. Some people do phenomenally well, some people not so well. So what's different about those people? Is it mindfulness? Is it self-efficacy? Is it goal determinants why they started to start with? Because what we ultimately would like to accomplish is just like we talk about personalized medicine based on your genetics or whatever.
Sure.
What about personalized change that's based on your psychosocial state of affairs when you start this change process? Because again, if we can package these classes, and deliver the program to other providers, so it's the Barnard way, if you will.
Yes.
That might have a much broader reach, and so those are the kind of things we're thinking about as far as expansion goes. Is helping people, doing the research to show that if you want to transition people to a plant-based diet, this is the best way to do it. Here's the evidence behind it.
That's fantastic. I mean, we have all the information, we have all the ammunition. There's just, as you say, it's just getting people in the door and on board. But, I think out of anybody, you're having the greatest success. It's just so fantastic. Your own self, are your family eating this way now, or, yeah?
Yeah, so my partner back in St. Louis, when I first went plant-based, she did it with me just to kind of support me. Sure. I had three teenage boys who lived with me part-time. They really weren't so interested in the beginning. And after that first 3 months, she ate healthier. When we were together, we ate plant-based, but she would eat, some cheese and lean meat after that 3 months. Well, about a year ago, she became we both started doing a lot of triathlons, and she started to train for an Ironman, the whole Ironman triathlon.
Wow.
And eventually kind of drifted back toward a plant-based diet, and her results in her racing was just absolutely astounding. And so she went completely plant-based. My sons have drifted kind of in and out, but I have to say that the results they've seen because of my personal changes, my energy, my health, my stamina, my mood, it was such a profound change that certainly I think they are more aware of it. But the teenage kids, they feel immortal anyway. So it is kind of difficult.
Yeah. I mean, the whole youth thing is just so important. I'm working with someone right now about trying to get world skills, which is a possibility of our work, the same as what you do, into colleges, and that then goes round the world. They develop it here in Glasgow, in Scotland. We're very famous for many things, you know. We have a lot of inventors over here. And then they take this world skill and they put it around the world. So that would be fantastic, you know, to see something like that happening, because it's the youth that we have to keep encouraging, isn't it? You know?
And one of the things we've the PCR, Inclusive Committee for Responsible Medicine,
sure,
kind of the umbrella organization over, has done a lot of work with the federal government here on school lunch programs, school district here in Washington, D.C. Because if we can catch kids when they're first starting to develop their eating habits when they're young and influence those early on, that's incredibly important. And you know, you look, for example, at the recent study that came out by the WHO, looking at processed meats and cancer. You know, getting this processed food out of the school lunch programs is incredibly important, because the reason, you know, that the process of getting cancer is cumulative over time as you're exposed more to these carcinogens, these cancer-causing chemicals which are within the processed meat. So we also, again, back to capturing the youth and changing their behavior early on is incredibly important.
And you know, the other thing is as well, Jim, for you being a doctor and an MD, it must be so heartwarming to see your patients actually getting well, as opposed to just similarly, you know, writing prescriptions, and that's the way you were taught, and that's what medicine's about, helping the sick, of course. But I mean, now it must be just incredible for you to see Mrs. Joe Bloggs and Mr. Joe Bloggs' diabetes going away, and their heart disease reversing, and cancer even as well. How amazing! Right,
and you know, and again, back to this, you know, the cumulative effect. So think about it. Think about the other side of that coin, right?
Yeah.
The cumulative disability just from being obese.
That's right.
You can't go on vacation with your grandkids. You can't kick a football around the backyard.
Yeah.
You know, the drugs you spend, the amount of money you spend on medication, you can't go on vacation. Right? The side effects of the drugs.
Yeah.
So not only do they get better, all of this, you know, downstream, all of it gets better.
Everything.
Right? Their energy, it's miraculous. You know?
I mean, sometimes, you know, women write to me and say, Marlene, for the first time I've been able to lie in the bath for like 6 or 7 years. They were so big they couldn't even fit in and lie in the bath because the water would overflow, or they can bend down and tie their shoelaces. I mean, you know, really, just from the ridiculous to the sublime, it's just fantastic. So, I know the wonderful Dr. Neil Barnard is going to be coming on about stop animal test. I mean, what an incredible job he's done. Bow down to all of you, but to Dr. Neil Barnard in admiration, having animal testing stopped in nearly every hospital. So I don't want to discuss that with you, but I just want the world to know that that's because there's a lot of vegan followers on my site too, because I'm vegan, a healthy vegan. So you know, that's going to be coming up soon as well. Now, Dr. Loomis, you have to share something fun with us over the period of your life with the viewers, make them laugh, because we all talk about such serious issues. So I like everybody to end on a happy laughter note.
Well, so I have to say, one of my favorite is a cartoon that I use in my talks. It makes me laugh and cry at the same time.
Sure.
It's a picture of a gentleman with a bag from McDonald's. It looks like McDonald's.
Yeah. And
he's looking in and reaching out and says, double stroke with cheese, extra diabetes with fries. Hey, where's my heart attack and with bacon? And you know, it's funny but sad at the same time that we have reduced our health. We have completely disconnected ourselves from our diet. And we joke about it, but it's not funny really. And if we don't figure this out pretty soon, not only are we going to bankrupt the healthcare system, I mean, we're going to bankrupt the planet because of the profound environmental impact of health. And the other story that comes to mind, and again, it's sad, but somewhat humorous. So I had a patient who had type 2 diabetes. He came to see me. he wanted to go plant-based. I gave him Dr. Barnard's book. I had him watch Forks Over Knives, read his China study. He comes back in 3 months, and lo and behold, his diabetes is gone. Right? So he goes to see his diabetes doctor, and the diabetes doctor says, wow, you look great, lost this weight. How'd you do it? Went on a plant-based diet. What do you mean you stopped your diet, your medicine? You can't do that. Who told you to do that? My internist. Well, that's malpractice. You need to get a new internist. You can't do that. That's crazy. He gets his blood work back and no diabetes. So the fact of the matter was, it wasn't that he needed a new internist. He didn't need his diabetes doctor.
Yeah, that's
so. You know, again, it's
I know.
Crazy.
I mean, you know, I sometimes I've had run-ins. I've told you have a very no-nonsense approach, and you know, I mean, I'm plant-based nutrition from Colin Campbell, graduate, but you know, my background in traditional Chinese medicine, the work that people like my husband and for 50 years and people like him around the world have taught macrobiotics, you know, have had huge success with the work that they do too. And oncologists actually argue with me because that sometimes my clients ask me to come with them because they feel afraid of their oncologist, and I think that's so sad. These people should be being supported, and they tell them to stop listening to what I'm asking them to do because I'm harming their treatment, their chemotherapy or their radiation by changing their diet. I mean, most of them believe me, but some of them still put their faith in the doctor, and I can only do what I do. But so get your case packed. I'm coming to kidnap you. We're going to set up a Barnard Medical Center here right in the middle of Scotland, yeah? We are the capital of disease in Europe, my little country. How sad is that?
Yeah.
You know?
I would love to come. I'm all in, yeah.
Yeah, so we're coming to steal you. I want to thank you for being such an incredible light in the world, Dr. Loomis, and sharing your own story. And as you've just said, you know, when you feel it yourself, there's no denying it. Forget about the signs, forget about everything else. When you feel it in your own body, which is a self-healing organism, it's a done deal. And your story is just going to change the world for so many people. So I thank you from the bottom of my heart. And I also thank you for the time today because I realise how busy you are and you've been teaching all morning. So a million thanks, and I look forward to seeing you soon.
All right, thank you. I really enjoyed it. And thank you for your work. It's so important that we get the word out because, again, this is how we're going to change the world.
We're going to change the world, and we're all going to have a chorus because I have so many people out there looking for, you know, Rod Stewart, right? Rod Stewart is Scottish, and I've asked him to write a song because Madonna hasn't written back to me, so I write to the world every day, and I asked Rod Stewart to write a song, Change Must Come, and we can all be in the chorus. People think I'm nuts, but you know, what we think we become and what we feel we attract, and I just keep writing every day. Last week I wrote to Pope Francis. I'm not a Catholic, but I love his soul. I write to Joe Biden all the time about his moonshot for cancer, and I write to everybody. I write to all the governments. So if I go missing off the planet, it's because one of them sent a hitman after me. Thank you so much, Jim. Have a wonderful day. Lots of love from everybody in Scotland.
All right, thank you.